Thursday, am I right? Isn't that how it goes down? I have a pen in my hand and a song in my heart, right? Isn't that how we do things? YouTube's up. YouTube's up. What's up, everybody? Oh, man. Thirsty Thursday. I'm feeling it. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good morrow. What's the future like? Are you watching from Australia? What's the next day like? First of all, Australia, I hope you're okay. I'm wishing you all the best. I know it's been tough over there. And a lot of the comics there have been rallying and doing benefits, which is awesome to see. But anyway, good to see you. The show will have to end promptly today. And the reason for that is I'm a little nervous. I got to get this off my chest. I'll give a few housekeeping announcements before we start today's show. By the way, welcome to Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. People tweet me what's going on in the news, and that's what we do. We talk about what people want to talk about. Boom. But anyway, so I have a plumber coming to the apartment at noon today. And what's happening is, so I guess our disposal is connected to one of the neighboring units in our apartment complex. So every now and again, a clog just happens, and it's a little complicated. And there's this particular plumbing company that the landlord contracts out with because they understand the building. This is, what I was told when it happened the first time, which it happened, I guess you could say it happens like once a year. So they sent this dude out, and this guy seemed like a psycho. I don't know. So this dude, now he did fix the problem, but this dude shows up, and I'm there with my cat Lucy, who wants him to pet her, right? And he was a nice guy. He liked the cat. He liked Lucy, but he starts looking at this and he's like, the piping here is really complicated, and the other thing is connected to the other unit and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I understand that. So what do you need to do? And so he's going through all this stuff. At one point, he tells me, I think I may need to climb up on the roof. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, look, I'm not a plumber, but the pipes are down that way. The roof is up there. Why in the world do you need to climb up on the roof? But for some reason, this dude allegedly had to climb up on the roof. Then he also told me at one point, he said he was going to have to knock a wall out. And I'm like, you have to knock a wall out to fix a clog. A clog. You can't just snake this thing and then snake it from the other end and figure it out in the other unit. You need to knock a wall out. And he was saying, I may need to knock a wall out. And I was like, oh, okay, well, you're going to have to call the landlord immediately. That sounds borderline psychotic. I don't know if I'm being pranked right now. I looked around for cameras. I thought maybe there's a camera and I'm being punked. And he's going to be like, I already fixed the clog, man. This is just, you're going to be on Punked. I don't know if that show's still around, but you know what I mean. And then he said, so at one point he got this hose and he got this stuff up from the hose. He goes out on our balcony and he's like, all right, man, this is going to be difficult. He sucked up the clog with his mouth and then he spit it out. And I'm like, dude, did you really have to do that? And that's the thing. I'm not a plumber. So do I know for sure this dude didn't have to do all the things? I don't know for sure, but I feel like maybe this dude is one of those people that overdiagnoses things and really overamplifies things. And so the idea of this guy being in my apartment again was terrifying. And it still is. I'm not feeling great. But I don't have a choice. There's water in my, and I know that they're telling the truth when they're saying the two units are connected, because we didn't do anything to cause this. We just woke up one morning and there was water all in our sink, just a bunch of water. And we're like, oh crap. And we tried to drain it, didn't work, et cetera, et cetera. So, we realized that there was an issue. And when I called, they were like, oh, then are you the neighboring unit with blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, look, I'm assuming that my neighbors are having problems too, because I've actually been hearing their disposal as well. So I don't know. But later today, this guy's going to come over, and he may say that he needs to knock out a wall again. And that's why I was like, I need to be home when this dude's here. Like, I can't, if it was just like the maintenance guy, because the maintenance guy's, a pretty chill, friendly dude. That'd be one. But it's like this guy, I'm like, oh man, I can't, like, if he's if he's in here when I'm not, like, I could picture myself coming home and be like, I had to burn down the apartment, but I got the clog out. There wasn't anything valuable in here, right? I salvaged your laptops and TVs. I only have one TV. So it'd be singular TV. Anyway, yeah. So I'm a little nervous about that. But we're going to have to end around quarter till or so, which I know sometimes we do anyway. But yeah, you get the idea. Also, other housekeeping. You guys know that I've been trying to start that music series, Sounds of Revolution, where I talk to musicians about what they want for 2020. Well, guess what? The first one's happening tomorrow. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific Time. The first one is going to happen. And the guest is a surprise. You know me, I don't like to announce guests ahead of time because I'm always worried something's going to go wrong. Then I'm going to have egg on my face and I'm going to have to cancel. So I always wait. I don't announce it until it is happening and we are ready to go live. But I'll say this. I think a lot of you are going to be really excited about this first guest. It might not be what you're expecting in a good way. You might be like, oh, but this person is going to be the first guest, assuming everything goes well. And patrons, next patrons only stream, I'll let you know who it is. But anyway, all right. So getting started in the news. So you guys know that Tulsi Gabbard is suing Hillary Clinton for defamation. Hillary Clinton accused Tulsi Gabbard, a veteran, of being a Russian asset. There was no evidence of this whatsoever. And Tulsi's making the case that that is defamation of character. That's a damaging thing said about a person with malicious intent. That's what Tulsi will have to prove in a court of law. And Tulsi is suing Hillary Clinton for what Hillary did. And, but before we get into what's going on right now with an update here, some people were tweeting about this and they were on the Clinton side and they said, look, if you've given money to Tulsi's campaign, know that this is what Tulsi's using it for. Let that sink in. This is what she's using it for. And I had to reflect on that. And I do think that's an important point. Now, I have given money to the Tulsi Gabbard campaign. I've always been very upfront about who I've given to. I have given to Bernie Sanders. I have given to Tulsi Gabbard. And I've given to Mike Gravel. Those are the three 2020 nominees. And, Mike Gravel not in the race anymore. But those are the three nominees that I gave money to. Tulsi Gabbard, Bernie Sanders, Mike Gravel. And before Tulsi Gabbard did this, I was glad I gave money to her campaign. I was glad I did that. I thought, she has a perspective that I think is important. I want to see her up there. I'm hoping she's Bernie's VP pick. That's the ticket I'm hoping for. And I was glad I gave money to Tulsi's campaign. I got to be honest with you guys. My perspective has changed. I went from being glad that I gave money to Tulsi's campaign to being really glad. To being really glad I gave money to Tulsi's campaign, because you know what the Clintons do and the stronghold the Clintons have, not just on the Democratic Party, but on our politics in general, it needs to end. It should have never happened. But the real damage the Clintons have caused to our politics, I don't even think we've felt the full effect yet. Similar to how we haven't felt the full effects of the George W. Bush administration. The way they hijacked, they dragged the Democratic Party to the right in a very extreme way. They hijacked our process. They got Donald Trump through the Pied Piper strategy. They kneecapped Bernie Sanders. I mean, basically everything we're seeing now, you can trace it back to the Clintons. And you kind of wonder, gee, had we had a stronger candidate than Al Gore, which again was part of that whole era of the New Democrats, we're the conservative ones. That's what that meant. That's what that was code for. You know, this post-Reagan, we're going to meet you in the right Democratic Party that Bill Clinton ushered in. And then people overlooked it because he was a cool guy with the saxophone. So this stronghold needs to end. And when you see people standing up, that's a good thing. Now I think Tulsi Gabbard needs to go for the W here. I think it needs to be more than just a symbolic act. She really needs to go for the win. This lawsuit's not going to be easy. We all know that. Especially since, look, this is the Clintons. They got the resources to get the best legal team money can buy. And they will. But she needs to go for the W here because, should she win this lawsuit, that's really saying, look, this kind of Russophobia, this kind of disinfo, propaganda mongering, we're not going to tolerate it anymore. You can't just defame somebody's character like that. And by the way, keep in mind, defamation not protected by free speech laws. That's a violation of free speech laws. But here's an update. Look at this. Hillary Clinton refuses to be served by Tulsi Gabbard's defamation lawsuit. Hillary Clinton has now twice snubbed a process server attempting to deliver the defamation lawsuit filed against her by Democratic presidential candidate Tulsi Gabbard. I think it rather unbelievable that Hillary Clinton is so intimidated by Tulsi Gabbard that she won't accept service of process. This is what the Tulsi Gabbard's attorney, Brian Dunn, told the Post, but I guess here we are. Dunn said the process server first attempted to effect service at the Clinton's house in Chappaqua on Tuesday afternoon, but was turned away by Secret Service agents. The agents directed the server to Clinton's lawyer, David Kendall, who on Wednesday claimed at his Washington, D.C. firm, Williams & Conley, that he was unable to accept service on Clinton's behalf. Hey, go see the attorney. The attorney says, no, I can't accept that. Interesting. So somebody tweeted this when I, for everything I do on Get Your News On with Ron, I, of course, tweet the articles out ahead of time. I think a lot of you guys know that. Somebody had this to say about it. Check this out. So I tweeted out the article, and this guy, Tony D, said, this is unacceptable. The Secret Service is charged with protecting people from threats, not legal accountability. They've been pulling this shit to protect Trump's criminal spawn too. Tulsi Gabbard needs to sue the Secret Service for abusing their authority. Interesting take. But I like that. Where they're basically just saying, and I don't know if she should try to, I'd say stick with this lawsuit, but they're pointing out, look, the Secret Service is not supposed to protect you from legal liabilities or legal issues you may have brought on yourself. They're there to protect you from threats. So interesting take there. I appreciate that. And look, Hillary Clinton, when it comes to Donald Trump, keeps saying how nobody's above the law. Well, doesn't that apply to her too? It's weird how the Clintons have these exceptions, and it's when it's them. We need to believe all women unless you have something to say about Joe Biden or Bill Clinton. Which, by the way, quick aside, thank you guys so much for sharing my Love Me, I'm a Liberal music video. A lot of you guys have shared it. A lot of you guys have tweeted it. I appreciate that so much. If you haven't checked it out yet, please consider checking it out. I made a music video for my reworking of the song Love Me, I'm a Liberal. And there's a line in there about the Clintons. Please do check it out. You can find it over on my YouTube page. It's just Ron Placone, Love Me, I'm a Liberal. And I appreciate all you guys who have given some feedback and shared that video. So thank you so much for doing that. But anyway, interesting here. You're not above the law, Hillary Clinton. You're not above the law. In fact, my friend and colleague Fiorello from the Convo Couch tweeted that out. She tweeted it out and she said, I thought nobody was above the law, Hillary. I thought nobody was above the law. But she won't allow them to serve that lawsuit. Interesting. They went to Hillary Clinton. Clinton said, go to the attorney. The attorney said, I can't accept that. We're going to send you around in circles. So interesting. If it's such a bogus lawsuit, why don't you just accept it? If it's so bogus, if it has no merit, If it's so ridiculous, which is what they've said about it so far, well, why don't you just accept it? Why don't you call the call it? If you think that it's phony, if you think they're just bluffing, if you think this is just an attention grab, why don't you quote call the bluff? Why not? Interesting. All right. So Edwin shares this. Thank you for sharing this, Edwin. So this is trending on Twitter right now as of the recording of this. Commerce Secretary says coronavirus will help bring jobs to North America. Yeah, this really happened. All right, so Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross said earlier today, as of the recording of this, he believed the coronavirus outbreak that has left millions under lockdown in China will help return jobs to the U.S. and Mexico. Good news, guys. Good. I know people are suffering or whatever, but this might help us out. I think it will help to accelerate the return of jobs to North America, some to U.S., probably some to Mexico as well. Ross said a day after President Donald Trump signed the USMCA. Let's see. In an interview with Fox Business Network's Maria Bartiromo, Ross acknowledged the victims, saying, I don't want to talk about a victory lap over a very unfortunate, very malignant disease, but I'm going to do that anyway. Isn't that awesome? I don't want to make light about these people suffering, but I'm kind of going to, because I'm going to say how it'll help jobs here. Now, more than 7,700 cases of coronavirus have been confirmed in mainland China, and at least 170 people have died from the virus. So, let me finish this. Elsewhere, more than 100 people have been infected in 20 countries or territories across North America, Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. Airlines around the world have suspended flights to China in response. So, look, that's beyond a despicable sentiment to utter by Wilbur Ross. And people are tweeting about this, and they're like, we have reached a new low. Look at what Fox Business did. We have reached a new low. And in some ways we have, but in other ways, it wasn't too long ago that Wolf Blitzer went on CNN and expressed his concern that if we ended our conquest in the Middle East, which means bombing the shit out of the Middle East, that would hurt jobs. What about all the people? What about those jobs? That's what Wolf Blitzer said. So when you are concerned, when the economic impact is supposedly significant around endless war and the conquest of imperialism and diseases in other parts of the world, when you see the economic opportunity there, when another part of the world has a disease outbreak, and you see the economic cost about ending war, you know what that means? That means your system ain't working. That means your system is very tragically corrupt and needs to be completely reassessed. An economy of war is morally disgusting, it's brutal, and it will inevitably fail. Similarly, when you're relying on diseases in other parts of the world for more domestic opportunities, when you're the richest country in the world, that's a problem. That means you're really neglecting what's going on at home, which is exactly what we're doing in the United States. We're the richest country in the world, yet we can't give people healthcare. We can't give people free education. We can't give living wages. And why can't we? Well, because we have a system that is bought and perpetuated and beneficial only to the ruling class and the 1%. And it's cheaper for them to outsource things. It's cheaper for them to exploit people around the world than it is domestically. And this type of economy needs to end. So it's really gross what Wilbur Ross said. Of course, it's beyond gross. It's completely morally bankrupt and completely gross, but this is our system. He's a reflection of our system. Much like Donald Trump, it's not like our system was just fine and then this guy said something gross. No, our system is horrible. And this is the face of the system. This guy is the face. Wilbur Ross is what capitalism is. Profit above all else, and you see an economic opportunity. So this is our system. I'm not saying what Wilbur Ross said wasn't completely gross and disgusting. It was. But this is the face of our system. Wilbur Ross, much like Donald Trump, is just a upfront, blunt representation of our system. He doesn't sugarcoat it. It's not flowery. This is what our system is. Much like when Wolf Blitzer expresses concerns about job loss if we're not at war, if we're not in a bunch of wars we shouldn't be in. Oh, that might cost jobs. Imagine if we actually took care of our priorities at home with a real jobs program. We already have a jobs program. It's the military. What if it was a real jobs program that fixed our roads, that fixed our infrastructure, that invested in green energy, invested in solar, invested in reprioritizing our energy output? Imagine that. And imagine when something happens in a place like China, we're not thinking about the economic opportunity for jobs at home. We're thinking about, hey, how can we help these people? Because we got the resources to help. Because we have all these people who already have jobs, and their jobs, they can go help. Wilbur Ross is the face of our system. Donald Trump is the face of our system. They're a result of our rugged, capitalist, neoliberal system. And they will go away. But as long as the system's still in place, we're going to get another Donald Trump. We're going to get another Wilbur Ross. And at the pace we're going, the next one could potentially be even worse. Probably will be. All right. All right. So thank you for sharing that, Edwin. I appreciate it very much. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Joe shares this. Here's a little bit of encouraging news. Somewhat. I mean, it's good, but well, the article kind of sums it up. So, House approves a measure blocking funding for war with Iran. So, this was the bill that Ro Khanna came up with when the Iran conflict was when we assassinated General Soleimani, when Donald Trump assassinated the guy, because Donald Trump, let's give him billions more than what he asked for a military budget. Let's just do that, and let's just continue setting the Middle East on fire. We've been itching to go to war with Iran for a long time now. By we, I mean the ruling class and the military-industrial complex. Donald Trump, it's time for you to carry out your part. Just like Bush did, just like Obama did, just like Clinton did. Trump, now it's your turn. And Trump said, sure, absolutely. So you people who entertain this fantasy that Trump was some non-interventionist, it's a fantasy. He's just another willing participant, just like presidents before him. All right, but the House approves a measure blocking funding war with Iran. So after that happened, Ro Khanna and Bernie Sanders got together and worked on this piece of legislation. The House has approved a bill to block funding for military action against Iran. In a largely party line vote of 228 to 175, the House on Thursday passed the No War Against Iran Act offered by Ro Khanna. The reality is that Congress needs to exercise the power of the purse, Khanna told reporters ahead of the vote. We need to make it very clear that Congress is not going to authorize a dime for an offensive war in Iran. House Democrats scheduled a vote on Khanna's bill, as well as a separate one from Representative Barbara Lee to repeal the 2002 authorization for the use of military force, as fears of war between the United States and Iran spiked earlier this month. The authorization for use of military force is basically the legislation that allows a president to just order a strike whenever they want to, whoever that president is. And right now, that's Donald Trump. The two sides appear to be at the brink of war after President Trump assassinated Iranian General Qasem Soleimani. That's not what the article says, but that's what I'm saying. Iran retaliated with a missile strike on an Iraqi military base housing U.S. troops, an attack that gave dozens of U.S. troops traumatic brain injuries. Khanna's bill would prohibit federal funding from being used for military action against Iran in cases of self-defense or if Congress has specifically authorized the action. Now, here's the thing. Khanna's bill is not likely to get a vote in the Senate. It, as well as Lee's bill, was previously approved by the House as an amendment to the annual defense policy bill, but it was stripped from the final version of the defense bill during negotiations with the Senate. Unlike a separate war powers resolution expected to be voted on in the Senate, Khanna and Lee's bills do not have built-in mechanisms for Democrats to force a vote in the Republicans-controlled Senate. Most Republicans derided Khanna's bill as dangerous and irresponsible. Come on, that's dangerous and irresponsible. You know what's way less dangerous and way more responsible? Letting the president just kill whoever he wants whenever he wants to do it and giving him billions to do so. Donald Trump. Yeah, just letting him do whatever he wants. That's the responsible thing. Or just any given. They can just strike whoever they want whenever they feel like it. That's the responsible thing. This whole thing that we shouldn't be going to war with Iran, that it should be a last case resort. It should only be in cases of self-defense. That's irresponsible. So, the good news is that, yeah, this went through the House. The bad news is it's likely to not move at all in the Senate. It's a Republican-controlled Senate, so it likely ain't going to go anywhere. So, so there's that. I mean, it's good that this is happening, that at least people are trying. At least there's some anti-war people in our politics trying to do something about this. But a Republican-controlled Senate, it likely ain't going to go anywhere, at least not for a while. All right. So thank you for sharing that, Joe. So Truth to Tweet shares this. And this is concerning Liz Warren. So Liz Warren has at times spoken out about big tech, and she actually has said some okay things at times. She has said that she wants to break up Facebook and companies like that, which I think is a good idea. I think that should happen. Liz Warren kind of talks a good game, and then we'll see how she feels next week. Bernie Sanders actually has laid out a plan to break up those companies. He also has a plan to keep the internet free and open by providing high-speed internet for all. He has a plan for that, which would be city-owned internet all across the country, which, of course, I am very much in support of. But here you have the ongoing debate about big tech's role in misinformation. And, it's the opinion of this show that a lot of people are getting it wrong. And what they call for is Facebook and Twitter and places like that to police what is and isn't free speech and police what is and isn't legitimate political information. And the idea that you're calling on Silicon Valley, computer programmers or whatever else, to decide what is and isn't legitimate political speech is very odd and very dangerous. They are not qualified to make those judgment calls. You know who is qualified to make those judgment calls? First of all, we the people. Second of all, a constitutional lawyer who specializes in free speech issues. When you have free speech violations, that's the only time something should be taken off of Facebook or social media, when someone clearly violates free speech laws. Then and only then. In every other case, if they're not, and I know that's not the case right now because Facebook is a private company, so they can just have people adhere by their community guidelines. What I entertain is that for the betterment of the public good, these things should be broken up, designated public utilities, and operated as such. That's what should happen to Facebook and Twitter because they are the modern day public square, and Google and YouTube. That's what should happen. But here's what Elizabeth Warren is calling for instead, and I think she misses the mark here. Elizabeth Warren calls for tough penalties for spreading misinformation online. The Democratic presidential candidate said she'll work to fight disinformation aimed at her campaign, as well as at her opponents. Now that's ironic, isn't it? Isn't that ironic? False information like claiming somebody said something at a dinner party that they didn't say. False information like that, Liz Warren. False information like lying on an application about what your background is, about what your ethnic background is, and then taking that position from somebody who actually has that ethnic background, and then continuing to lie for years. Are those the kind of lies? Saying that somebody was cheated and then backpedaling on it. Saying you support Medicare for all and then waffling on that. Is that the type of misinformation you're going to fight, Liz Warren? Well, let's go to the article. Senator Elizabeth Warren on Wednesday proposed creating civil and criminal penalties for knowingly spreading false information online about when and how to vote in U.S. elections. The Democratic presidential candidate also called on tech companies to take real steps to fight disinformation. So here's her quote. I'm also calling on tech companies like Facebook, Twitter, and Google to take real steps right now to fight disinformation spread on their platforms, something they're completely unqualified to do. The safety of our democracy is more important than shareholder dividends and CEO salaries. The safety of our democracy is more important than letting a bunch of Silicon Valley billionaires dictate what is and isn't free speech. Free speech is way more important than that, Liz Warren. You're asking people to do something they're completely unqualified to do. All right, so Warren has vowed to break up big tech companies. Well, that's a good thing, like Facebook, Google, and Amazon. If she becomes president, arguing that they have too much power, they stifle competition and hurt small businesses. Well, that's true. She's also been a vocal critic of Facebook's decision to let politicians lie in ads. Now, this part's interesting. In October, she ran an ad on the social network to make her point. It deliberately contained a falsehood that Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg had endorsed Donald Trump for president. Okay. You know, it's funny here. People who aren't fans of Tulsi Gabbard, or maybe are just fans of Hillary Clinton, are saying, what a waste of money that Tulsi Gabbard is suing Hillary Clinton. You want to talk about a waste of money. And I know it probably wasn't a lot of money, but still. Liz Warren purposely made a fake ad saying Mark Zuckerberg was endorsed. Which, first of all, who gives a shit who Mark Zuckerberg votes for? Who cares? Why would you care who Mark Zuckerberg votes for? I don't give a shit. Do you give a shit? Why would anyone give a shit? And second of all, what a waste of resources. What a dumb way to make a point. Oh, I'm going to make the guy that runs this site, I'm going to say he endorsed somebody he didn't, and that'll prove a point. Prove a point of what? That this is political theater? That you're doing this to appear as some kind of outsider? Come on, Liz Warren. And no wonder Mark Zuckerberg's not a fan of Liz Warren. I mean, apparently he's not. Apparently he had some meeting where he said she was a threat. He's hoping she's not the nominee. You know, whether that's, you know, I mean, right now, like that was hearsay. We covered this on the show when it happened. But this is such a dumb action. Oh, look what I did. I'm standing up to big tech by deliberately making a fake ad where I'm saying someone endorsed somebody they didn't endorse. I'm proving my point here. And the solution to this problem, I like how the solution isn't, well, maybe politicians should attempt to be honest in their advertising. Maybe the solution is you would never just make an ad saying somebody endorsed someone they didn't endorse. The solution is we let Silicon Valley billionaires decide what is and isn't free speech. And then we impose penalties on people, quote, penalties, if they deliberately spread false information. Well, what's false information? We'll be the judge of that. That doesn't sound red flaggy at all. That doesn't sound right. So she completely misses this. And it's, I don't think it's totally like she just doesn't see that. This isn't, and look, I know the issue of free speech is a very complex one, and there's a lot of factors at play. But the solution is not that terribly complicated in principle. These companies are a modern day town square. They are part of our polis. They are part of how we exchange ideas and information. They need to be treated as a public utility and seen as such under the law. And it needs to be owned and operated. And when there are issues of free speech that arise, the free speech laws of the United States should be followed. And I know, well, Facebook's a global company. How do you do that? Well, they started here in the United States. So as far as information pertinent to the United States is concerned, those are the laws that should be followed domestically. End of story. And they should be designated utilities. That's what needs to happen. All these other proposals out there that, oh, we'll just gut an act of the Communication Act that makes these companies liable for what people post and publish. Well, that's a horrible idea, because now what they'll do is they'll just overly censor people because they don't want to get fined. I know. We'll just let Silicon Valley billionaires decide what is and isn't free speech. That's a horrible idea too, because that's asking them to do something they're completely unqualified to do. So there's one solution, and it's very apparent. Will it be easy to unroll all that? No. Will there be a transition period? Of course there will. But that's the solution. And every other proposal out there has been absolutely horrible. That executive order Donald Trump was proposing, which was going to unravel the part of the Communication Act, I believe it was Section 230, that allows people to post whatever they want free and publicly, and a platform can't be held liable, because that's the way you assure an open platform for people. That was a horrible idea that every civil liberties attorney in the country was like, whoa, that's horrible. That's taking a bad situation, making it infinitely worse. Similarly, it's also taking a bad situation and making it worse. What Liz Warren's saying, where let's just let Facebook and Silicon Valley decide what is and isn't legitimate political information, something they're completely unqualified to do. And they're likely to abuse that power. You think if someone posts an honest ad about something that would affect their bottom line, they're going to let it slide? So Liz Warren got the right idea about breaking these companies up, but some of what she's calling for here, very concerning, and it's very ironic that what she's been doing as of recent, she's wagging her fingers at other campaigns for not being honest. She's calling for honesty amidst campaigns in light of what she's done as of recent. Very ironic. All right. So, who shared that one? Truth to Tweet. Yes. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that Truth to Tweet. Now, we're going to go to Tim shares this. So, we've talked about the border wall on this show in the past. The border wall, by the way, a complete waste of resources, a complete waste of money. We have a net zero immigration in this country, meaning there's just as many people coming and leaving as far as our southern borders are concerned. 1. 2, most of the people coming to this country are doing so because they're refugees as a result of our exploitation around the world via bombing and sanctions, or the refugees of climate change, something that we should be leading on and we're not. Most of the people coming to this country, one of those reasons is why they're coming. Most of the drugs that get into this country are done so by being snuck in through ports. We have security at the borders. We have too much security at the borders. This country is a lot like espresso. It would be better without ICE. And we had border security prior to ICE. So this border wall is a complete, we don't even know how much it's going to cost. There's different factors that's faced via the terrains. All of the estimates have been an exorbitant amount of money, and there are a million more constructive things we could do with those resources than build a wall that's based upon prejudice and racism. And check it out. Turns out some of that wall's fallen down. Nobody can build a wall like I can build. Nobody. Watch winds knock down Trump's border wall. Here's a picture of it right here. Tim shares this. Part of the border wall is falling down. Mother Nature 1, this is the article from Common Dreams. Mother Nature 1, Donald Trump 0. That's the scorecard from the southern border after gusts of wind of up to 37 miles per hour took down a section of the president's much vaunted border. It's haunted. It could be haunted too. We don't know. What if the border wall's haunted? Then at least it could be a fun tourist attraction. Then at least we'd be like, dude, this border wall's haunted. Kind of makes it a little interesting. Anyway, so it 37 miles per hour took down a section of the president's much vaunted border wall in Calexico, California. Mother Nature 1, President Donald Trump 0 was also likely the results of a basic science exam on whether or not climate change was real. Anyway, the steel wall sections toppled under winds, which fell in the Beaufort scale as moderate gale force gusts were held in place by concrete anchors that are not fully set. So here, check this out. Here it goes. There it goes. So they're holding on there. And here it is. The wind's toppling this wall over. Look at it go. Now they're holding it up. They're trying to stop it from falling completely. This is what we're spending our money on. We can't give people health care. We can't give people free college. We can't give people living wages. We can't have a Green New Deal. Our money needs to be spent on stuff like this. News of the collapse drew mockery from opponents of the president's immigration policy, i.e. the president's racist wall. Point and laugh, everyone. Just point and laugh, immigration activist Juan Escalante said on Twitter. Billionaire Democratic presidential candidate Tom Steyer quoted Trump's own words in a tweet linking a news story about the wall's collapse. I own buildings. So here's the Trump tweet that Tom Steyer retweeted. Tom Steyer, the guy who's a billionaire, who could be doing tons for a Green New Deal with the resources he has, and decided the best use of his resources is to run for president. There's a candidate who has an actual Green New Deal named Bernie Sanders, Tom Steyer. And you know what? The optimist in me is saying that Tom Steyer is going to drop out soon and he's going to endorse Bernie Sanders. I hope I'm not wrong on that. I know there's a chance I will be. But anyway, Tom Steyer retweeted this. He retweeted Donald Trump saying, I own buildings. I'm a builder. I know how to build. Nobody can build like I can build. Nobody. And the builders in New York will tell you that. I build the best product. Well, here's his wall falling over. Here's that border wall we just had to have. We had to have this. This is important. This is important. It's necessary. Why is it necessary? We don't know. We don't know. It's necessary because immigrants are stealing our jobs. No, that's not happening. That's totally not actually happening. Well, it's necessary because drugs are being brought in. Yeah, they're being brought in through ports. That's how that's happening when it happens. They're being brought in through ports. Well, it's necessary because a bunch of people are coming to this country. Yeah, the people that are coming to this country, first of all, we have a net zero immigration. Second of all, the people coming to this country, they're refugees from our exploitation, from our brutal practices, and from climate change. So why don't we do something about climate change instead? Why don't we do something about ending the wars around the world instead? Why don't we lift these sanctions instead? No, it's more fun to build a wall. It's more fun to build a wall that's getting knocked over. What a waste of time. What a waste of resources. And what a ridiculous, racist idea to just build this wall. There's no logical purpose for it. None whatsoever. There's no point. No point. And it is such a waste of resources. And I know not every person who voted for Trump supports this wall. I know that. But the ones that do, what are you thinking? Like what? Like, what's wrong with you that you think that's what we need? You look outside and you think, you know what we need is a big wall to give a big F you to our neighbors. That's what we need. I mean, what goes through your head? That's the way you think. I mean, it's just sad. It's just really sad. And you know, every day it's a challenge. You know, you try to maintain some optimism about humanity, and you maintain some optimism that it's like, yeah, we can turn a corner for the better. We can do better than this. And you see stuff like this border wall, and it really challenges that optimism, where it's like, you know what, maybe we can't do better than this. And I really hope that's not the case. And I don't think it is. I really do. And I know that, you know, I'm a sardonic guy. I'm a sarcastic guy. But at the end of the day, I do have some hope and optimism that we can do better as a species. I really do truly believe that in my heart of hearts, that we can do better. And we can do better than this. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, you want my summary about the wall? It's completely unnecessary. It's completely just based around hateful ideology, and we can do better. We're better than this. We're better than this. And, you know, if you believe in some kind of supreme being, maybe that supreme being's letting us know that by knocking over that wall, right? Maybe that is some, you know, I don't, you know, I mean, I'm an agnostic, but, you know, maybe that's a message, or maybe it's karma, or maybe it's saying, hey, we can do better. Let's do better. Thank you for sharing that, Tim. Let me see what you guys are saying. This guy's coming soon. Dude, I'm really, for those of you that missed the beginning of the show, I have a plumber coming soon. And I'm really nervous about it because this guy was very, a very thorough, in a way that was kind of way too much. Fuck Google. That's your name. I like it. Fuck Google. Thank you very much for the super chat contribution. Shillery is a master at getting rid of, quote, servers. Ha! Nice play on words there. I appreciate that. That's funny. Well done, fuck Google. Robert Gilbert, we'll try to catch your show in Boston. I hope you can. It's September 11th. September 11th, Boston, Massachusetts, and there may be some special guests there. Tisha T, thank you very much for your super chat contribution. If we realize through this election process that our democracy is non-existent, electronic ballot counts, corrupted superdelegates, et cetera, what will happen? Working class needs to work. Not many will take to the streets. Sadly, you're right, and that's by design. It's not easy to strike in this country because a lot of people might be one paycheck away from going under. Or a lot of people, their health care is tied to their jobs. You notice in countries where people have health care, they can strike. In France, they strike. In Italy, they strike. In Germany, they strike. Because they have health care. It's a big part of it. Here, it's a lot more difficult, and that's by design. So they're going to try to cheat Bernie again. I mean, that's very true. And what's going to happen if they're successful at it? I don't know. It's tough to say. It's really tough to say. I think that, our chance to really reassess and alter the priorities of this country is gone, potentially for another generation. Those are where the stakes are at. So, yeah, I mean, if they successfully cheat us, it's, people need to protest. They need to protest in the streets, but, easier said than done. So, tour dates, I got them, by the way. I got tour dates, on a lighter note. February 8th, Tucson, Arizona. Don't wait. Get your tickets now. February 29th, San Francisco, California. March 12th, Orlando, Florida. March 13th, Tampa, Florida. March 14th, Miami, Florida. April 9th, Concord University. I'll see you. If you want to bring me to your campus, ronplacone.com. Drop me an email. We'll make it happen. April 10th, I'll be in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. April 24th, Seattle, Washington. April 25th, Portland, Oregon. That's the first third of the year, but we got tour dates announced all the way through October, and we're coming to a bunch of places. Indianapolis, Detroit, Cleveland, Louisville, Nashville, Atlanta. Hold tight. Tickets should be available real soon, but we are coming. Chicago, Milwaukee. Where else am I coming to? Richmond, Virginia. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Washington, D.C. New York City. Boston. Portland, Maine. Burlington, Vermont. Madison, Wisconsin. Minneapolis, Minnesota. Get your tickets now. Do not wait. ronplacone.com. If you want to support this show and the sustainability, and please do consider becoming a patron. Patreon.com/ronplacone. For your give what you can level, you get all kinds of exclusive content. It is a give what you can level, by the way. The suggested amount is $5. So when you sign up, $5 is going to be the slotted amount that's there. But you can enter in a different amount. You can enter in more than that if you're so able. You can enter less than that if you're so able. And everyone gets all the same stuff. So it is a give what you can level. There has to be a certain amount that's the suggested. That's the way Patreon works. So the suggested is $5. That's what I keep it at. But it's a give what you can. And you get all kinds of exclusive content. You get a patrons-only stream once a week. You get dialogues between myself and my cat, Lucy. You get my album in its entirety for download. That's all for a give what you can level. Patreon.com/ronplacone if you are so able. You help me build this show. I'm working on that music series that, if all goes as planned, will debut tomorrow. Tomorrow, the music series starts where I interview musicians about 2020. It's called Sounds of Revolution. And also, I'm trying to make mini documentaries around municipal broadband and city internet. I'm teaming up with Right Brain Studios to do that. To make that a reality, I do need more resources. That's going to require staff. That's going to require camera people. So if you are so able, patreon.com/ronplacone, even $1 a month goes a long way. Jay Stein Nitsu, let me try to see your thing. It's a great show. I've been a fan for 1 to 2 years. Very excited to see you in Florida, in Ohio. Awesome, Jay Stein Nitsu. I can't wait to see you as well. And yeah, I hope you're making it out to some of the dates. So Jay Stein Nitsu, thank you for the Super Chat contribution. Tisha T, thank you for the Super Chat contribution. Robert Gilbert, thank you for the Super Chat contribution. Fuck Google, thank you very much for the Super Chat contribution. Tim, Edwin, Joe, and Truth to Tweet, Thank you very much for the stories that we used today. I got to go. The plumber's coming. Wish me luck. In the meantime, you know the drill. We'll be back on Monday for Music Monday, and we should be back tomorrow for the Starts of Sound of Revolution. I'm not going to give away too much yet. I'm going to keep it under wraps because I'm always nervous I'd have to cancel something if I announce something. But patrons, I'm going to let you know. On the patrons only stream, I'll let you know who the guest is. So keep a lookout for that. The podcast drops tomorrow like it always does. It's just Get Your News On with Ron, wherever you get podcasts, iTunes, Stitcher, etc., etc. I'll see some of you tomorrow. I'll see the rest of you on Monday for Music Monday. And that's tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific Time, by the way. Our normal time. And in the meantime, you know the drill. Lucy says meow. I say peace. Peace.